Good morning, I'm Ella Brunston, Community Manager at Hornbill. I'd like to welcome you and thank you for joining today's webinar, where we'll be getting an insight into the creation of the service with Andy Gittos, Application Developer. Just to inform you, the delegate audio will remain muted throughout the presentations to help facilitate flow and timekeeping. If you have any questions during the presentations, please type into the GoToMeeting question facility on the right-hand side of your screen. We will collate questions and answer them at the end of the session and open up the lines. Thank you very much for taking the time to attend. I'll now pass you over to Andy.
Thanks, Anna. Hi, everybody. Today we're going to be talking about service management in the ITSM application. I'm sure you're aware of the great educational videos about service management that we have in our support forums. Don't worry if you haven't seen them already, because they're available on the forum anytime you wish to view. Anyway, today I'm going to look more in depth at some of the new features and some other areas that we've had some questions about. This means I will be jumping around the application a little bit, but I'm hoping this way you'll get maximum value for your time today. So first, we're going to talk about form field management. When you're creating a service in ITSM, or when you have a service that you're configuring and maintaining, you'll find it useful to add some restrictions and controls on certain key fields on the service form. Form field management rules allow you to do this. Let me show you the service details form. So here we have all the details for this service. One of the key fields on this form is the operational status field. We will be focusing on this shortly, but also notice the Action Diary tab. Information such as service field values that have been updated and by whom they have been updated are captured here. And one of the functions of form field management enables you to control which fields you would like to be included in the Action Diary. So now let me show you how to set up form field management rules. So form field management rules are defined in the service category. Form field management rules are defined in the service category form, which means they will apply only to services within that category. So this is the service category form, and this is the form field management area. As you can see, in my demo services category, I've already got a form field management record defined. You can add new ones here, delete and view the properties of your form field management records. So when you're creating one, the first thing you'll need to select is the table column here. That relates to the field in the service form that you want to set the rules for. So I've selected operational status. And once you do that, it will automatically set the data binding field below. And that's the database column the value of this field is stored in. So I'm going to ignore for now the advanced format checking and concentrate on these three checkboxes to start with. The first checkbox, when checked, prevents everyone except configuration specialists from making changes to this field's contents on the service form. The second checkbox forces an analyst to add an entry to the relevant service's action diary each time they have changed this field. The third box is similar, but this time the action diary entry is automatically generated on behalf of the analyst. So at the moment I have form field can only be set by a specialist checked. So I'm going to demonstrate this working for you. So the first thing I want to do is show you the important application right. So if I look at this analyst, Adam Analyst, go to Application Rights, and scroll to Configuration Management, you will notice that there is a configuration specialist right is not checked for Adam. So this means we should expect Adam to not be able to update operational status field for a service in the demo services category that we were looking at earlier as part of our form field management rule. So just to show you what I mean, I'm going to log in as Adam Analyst. As you can see here, I'm now logged in as Adam Analyst. So if I go to my service, got all my services here, so this is the one. So I'm going to go for forward field management, which is in demo services category. And as you can see, the operational status field is disabled and I'm unable to update it. And this is because of the form field management rule we set up earlier. So now if we return to the service category form, and open up the form field management record again. First of all, we should remind ourselves that we have also checked the create an automated diary entry if this field is updated. And now we can also take a look at the lower part of the form, advanced format checking. We can use this part if we want to implement advanced format checking against the value entered in this form field. In the expression box, you can enter the specification in regular expression syntax controlling the format of the data. So, for example, I can say I only want operational and faulty to be valid values for operational status field. So I do this by entering operational and a vertical bar, then faulty. If you're not familiar with regular expression syntax, you can click on the question mark in the corner. And there's a few examples there, quite a few actually. So moving on, the error message text is what you'd want to be displayed if an invalid value, so in our case not operational or faulty, was entered into this field. And you're also able to test values by entering them into the test box and clicking test. So, for example, if I write operational and click test, I'll get successful match. And same for faulty. But if I write anything else, broken, for example, I will get the error message that I've defined here. So that would be the same thing as if you're on the form and you're updating operational status. So if I now log in as a configuration manager, just check I'm definitely a configuration manager. Yep, configuration manager. And go to my service again. I'm going to pick the same service in demo service category. So now you can see the operational status is enabled, and that is because I'm the config manager and I have that application right that we took a look at earlier. So this means I can also change it. I can change it to faulty, and that says OK. If I reopen the form, you can check the action diary, and now we can see that there's been an automatic diary entry for operational status just a few moments ago. Again, that is as per the form field management rule. And finally, if I try and change operational status to something else other than faulty or operational, it's going to give me the message saying it's incorrect, and it's not going to change it. So that's again our form field management rule working. And that is it for form field management. And the next subject we're going to cover is subscribing to multiple services. So this is a new feature introduced in ITSM 360, which allows you to subscribe a customer, organization, or department to multiple services in one go. Previously, for example, if a new organization required subscriptions to multiple services, a service manager would have to go into each individual service. So if I can just show you what we did before, you'd have to go into the services, find the service, find the subscriptions pane, and add subscriptions in this way. And you'd have to do that for every service. So as you can imagine, just doing that for one or two services is a bit of a pain. So when there are several to do, this could become very time consuming. So now I'll demonstrate how you can do it now. So for organizations, I can just open up an organization record. And then you can see the services pane here. And you've got the actions to associate. So I can select multiple services in here, just using Control or Shift as you would normally do to select multiple items. As you can see, you've got your subscriptions in there. So subscriptions added here would give a subscription to each customer that is a member of this organization. So you've also got the same restrictions that would apply in the old method. So for example, if you try to add a service subscription and the service doesn't have any SLAs against it, you won't be able to, because you need to do the SLAs first, and it will let you know, and it won't do the subscription. So you can also disassociate multiple services here quite easily. You can view the subscription details, and even if you double click in here, you can see the service details. So you've still got access to all that information. So this functionality works similarly on the departments form. So if you open up a department form, you have to go to the Services tab this time. And you see, as you can see, you have the actions, and you can do the same actions as you could in an organization. So finally, multiple subscription functionality is also available in the customer form. Let me just show you that. So we've got the service subscriptions tab up here, which is Alan Castle subscriptions, and you have the same actions here as you have in the other forms. So services associated here will result in an individual subscription for this customer, and in the department form it would be a subscription for every member, every customer of that department. So that's the end of subscribing to multiple services at once. The next subject we're going to be looking at is within the configuration of self-service wizards. So self-service wizards, once associated with a service, are used by customers to log requests via the self-service portal. So first of all, we're going to have a look at custom picker questions. Now these wizard questions allow the selection of a data item using a predefined picker. So let's first look at an example of this in action. So if I log into the customer portal as Alan Castle, and I find my services, got a predefined custom picker service here. I can raise a request against that service. So you'll notice there are 4 questions here. Each of these is a custom picker question. The first one is a category picker. So for example, I can pick hardware or FM even, and maintenance. And the second one is a configuration item picker. So Alan can come in here and select from assets he owns or configuration items he owns and pick his desktop. And the last 2 are organization pickers. So number 3 is a custom organization picker. So Alan can pick from organizations that he's a member of or associated to. And the 4th one is a general one where Alan can pick any organization. So let's have a look now at how this is configured. We first need to find our web self-service wizard that is associated to our custom picker service. So I need to go into self-service wizards and pick the custom picker wizard. So I go into steps, custom pickers, and then the question, the first one we'll look at is the category question. So the first thing you notice is the type is custom picker, and when you've got custom picker selected, this picker name field below will be enabled. So just to show you, if you pick another type, picker name will be disabled. So let's put that back on custom picker, and I can show you the available pickers in here. So these 4 pickers are provided with the ITSM application by default. So all I did for this question was to pick category picker. So that. And for the second question, I picked configuration item picker, and so on. There's some other useful fields on this form, such as the target column, where you can select the database column that you want your customer's answer to this question to be stored. In addition, these checkboxes up here are quite useful. So I've chosen to prefix my question along with my customer's answer in the answer to be stored. For more information on these fields and other parts of the service, again, please view our service management videos. They're available on the Supportworks support forums. And that's all there is to know about custom pickers. So the next thing we're going to look at is option selector questions in the self-service wizard. These are different types of self-service wizard question, and they're similar to custom picker questions in that they provide the customer with an easy and intuitive method in order to make a selection whilst logging a request again via the self-service portal. Option selectors, however, allow the service manager or configuration manager to define a more complex question to draw perhaps more relevant information from the customer. For example, if the question you're asking your customer has many potential answers, rather than presenting them with a very large list, it is more effective to present a smaller list with an initial set of options that can narrow down the potential answers. Option selectors are more complicated to configure, but that's what I'm going to show you now. So we go back into Supportworks. We first need to find the self-service wizard again. So this time we'll look at option selector wizard. Go into steps, questions. This is my question, what hardware items do you require access to? And it's an option selector. Again, the type is obviously important. You have to select option selector if you want an option selector question. This time it enables the option selector settings tab up here. So again, that wouldn't be available to you if you had another type of question. So now that's in, let me show you some option selector configuration. So this part requires a bit of knowledge about where certain information is stored in your Supportworks database. First we're going to look at the primary tab area. This is where we are configuring the initial set of options presented to the customer. So since my question is what hardware items do you require access to, for my initial set of options I want it to be a list of hardware types, just to narrow down all those items. So for the table field, I've chosen from the list of all of your Supportworks tables the table that contains the configuration types. Once I've picked that, all three of the column fields, so key column, display column and details column, will now allow me to select from the list of columns within that table. So the key column field must be a unique identifier for my initial set of options. So that's why I've chosen the primary key of my selected table. The display column should contain the values you wish to display as the initial options for your question. Now this could well be the same as your key column, but in my case I've chosen the column that contains the display name of the configuration types. And the details column is used if you wish to display additional details next to the display column, but you can leave that blank. That's what I've done, and you just get the display column. So there's also the label field. You populate the label field if you wish to display a label for the set of initial options. If you leave this value blank, like I have, the question text will be used as a label instead. So what I mean by the question text, this question text here. So that's quite a lot to take in all at once. So now I want to show you how this looks in the customer portal. So if I log in again as Alan C. Again, look at my services, and I can find my option selector service and raise a request. So you can see my initial set of options. The first line that's in red here is the question text. So as you'd expect, the text at the top of this tab is my label. So that's also the question text because I left the label blank in the configuration. And obviously these are my options. The values you see here come from the display column in my configuration. What you might notice is this is quite a short list of configuration types, and they're all hardware configuration types. Now, I was able to achieve this in my configuration. So to switch back to Supportworks using my filter field. You should populate the filter field with a SQL filter for the initial options. In my case, we want the filter to filter out options to only show configuration types that start with hardware. So that's what we've got in there. So let's now have a look at the options tab. This is where we're configuring the final set of options that you will get after you select your initial option. So just to remind ourselves of our question, what hardware items do you require access to? So now, when it's my final option, I want this to be the list of configuration items or hardware items. So for the table field, I've chosen, again from a list of all the Supportworks database tables, the table that contains configuration items. Again, all four of the column fields will then only allow me to select columns from that table. The key column again must be unique for my final set of options, and this will also be the value that is stored as the answer to this question. So the customer's answer to the question will be stored as the value in the key column field. The display column should contain the values to display for the final options. If the value is blank, as it is in my case, the key column is used. And if the details form, so the details column is populated, same as before, then this will be displayed as extra details next to the display value for the final options. And we've got another column here, it's the filter, another field, the filter column. A filter column is very important because it is what is used to filter your options based on your initial selection. Therefore, it must match with the key column from your initial options. So for my case, I've chosen the field in the options table that contains, the final options table that contains the configuration type value. So again, we've got a filter field where we can put a SQL filter for the final options, but I haven't put anything in here this time. So if we go back to our self-service portal, we can see how this works. If I select a hardware configuration type, let's say print server, I'll get a list of configuration items that are all print servers, and I can select a couple, and you can see the selections come down here. I can click done, and I'm taken back to my initial set of options, where I can either move on in the wizard or make some more selections. So this time I could say click desktop, and then you get a different list of configuration items, again matching what you selected. So this is my list of desktops. I can pick one of those, click done, and you can see all my selections at the bottom. So that's all there is to know about option select questions, which also brings us to the end of the demonstration. So we've now got time for some questions, if you have any. So I think there is some, so if you just give me a moment, I'll have a read of them and get back to you soon. Okay, I'm back and I've got a question here. So the question is, with regards to wizard questions, how can I see what the customer has entered in the customer portal? So if I have a look, go back to my client, because I'm going to assume this is meant from an analyst point of view. So when you're setting up your wizard, so for example, my custom picker wizard, this is where the target column, so for each question you have a target column, that's where this comes in. So if you want the answer to the question to be stored in a certain column, you put the column in here. So for this one I've put update DB, update text, which I know is bound to my description field in the call. So if I show you this in the portal, fill in a few of these. So yeah, I think your question is just to see these answers that the customer has written in here. So once they've logged their call, you should just be able to go into the client, search for requests, and because of that target column, I've got the questions and answers in here. The questions are there as well because I had the prefix. If you remember, I had the prefix questions as well. But there is another way actually of seeing these details as well. If you go to, on the service request, self-service wizard input, you can see the answers there as well. So hopefully that answers that one. If you just give me another few minutes, I'll have a look at if there's any more. Okay, so I've got another question. It's about the form field management area. What are the grayed out checkboxes on the main tab? So let's have a look at that. Someone's obviously been quite observant. So yeah, I'm guessing we're talking about these ones here. These are grayed out because this category is a main category and not a subcategory. So basically with subcategories, these options determine if the subcategory inherits its parent's rules, its form field management rules from its parent. So I can show you that actually. I'll just create a quick subcategory. Then these boxes will actually be enabled, and if they're all selected, these attributes will be inherited from the parent category. So that would be the demo services category. So they're grayed out on here because this is the main category and it doesn't have a parent to inherit from. So hopefully that answers that one. I think we've got one more question. Just give me a second and I'll get back to you with that. Okay, so someone's asked how do you find the videos for service management that I've mentioned. That is a good question. So if you access, they're all on the forums. So if you can access the forums via the CCP, and once you're in the forums, there's this education category. So you go into the forums through the CCP, Supportworks, education, and if you're after the service management videos in particular, just come into here, and you've got quite a few there. So if there is any other questions, you could have a look at these to find your answers. And actually, the forums are quite a valuable resource, so I strongly recommend have a look at those, see if there's any other areas of the application you can find out a bit more information. Also, other areas of the CCP are worth checking out as well. So if there's no more questions, hopefully there is. Thanks very much for listening, and hope that's been useful. Cheers.
Thank you very much, Andy. It's great to have gone through those. If anyone has any questions, obviously feel free to email myself or go to your relationship manager. The recording will be available on the customer forums shortly, and I will send out an email to everyone that's attended as well. Finally, I just want to thank everyone for their time today, and hopefully you've enjoyed the 2014 Hornbill Academy series. We're looking forward to seeing you in 2015 in the next series. Anyway, thank you very much. Bye-bye.